Patrick Cook here. Thanks for returning as we continue our the tutorial concerning the Mandelbulb 3D software. Now, in the last session, I had set up 4 keyframes. Okay, we have a keyframe between keyframe 1 and 2. We're moving forward. Between keyframe 2 and 3, we're moving forward and looking down a bit. And between keyframes 3 and 4, we're moving again and looking down a little bit more. So I have prepared the preview. Now it's a little bit, the preview is a little bit bigger than I had in the past, but what I do is as I get closer to determining if I have the good basis for my animation, I'll actually increase the size of the preview, even though it will take a little bit longer to generate the preview. Now the premise of that is this. My initial keyframes, in this case like 4 keyframes, initially what I'm trying to do here is to determine a couple things. I want to see whether or not my scene looks pretty good in an animation, and I also want to kind of gauge my speed. Now, in the last session, I had said that I was going to increase the keyframes from 100 to 300, which is what I've done here. I also went down and I made note, I changed my notes to reflect these additional, this increase of the subframes from 100 to 300. I have found that it's very important to keep up on these notes. If you don't, you are going to get lost and you are going to be throwing keyframes away. So what I have right now is pretty decent. It's a good speed for this animation, considering the largeness of the Mandelbulb scene environment. It's unrealistic to zip through here really fast, being a wide open area. And on the other hand, it's a little bit boring to kind of creep along in an environment like this. So the idea is you want to try to get a speed which is believable. Well, at least that's what I want to do. I want to get an animation speed. As I move the camera through the environment, I want a speed that is realistic, that's believable. Now, in my video editing software, I can increase this and I can decrease this speed. I can. Now, the other thing that I haven't considered yet is in my video editor, I actually want to run this at 60 frames per second. All right. So if I put this particular animation, once I've rendered the whole thing out as a full 1920 by 1080 rendering, and I put that into a 60 frames per second project, it's going to run at half that speed. All right. So in order for me to get 60 frames per second to look good in my animation, in my video, I really should come up here and set these subframe counts to 600. All right. All right. I'm not going to do that yet, and I'll tell you why. If I am comfortable with this preview running at this speed, which is 30 frames per second, okay? If I'm comfortable with that speed, I know that what I can do is I can come up into my animation maker and I can double the speed up here. I'm sorry, double the number of frames, subframes up here, and I'll be good. That's assuming that I want my video editor to create a video project at 60 frames per second, which, by the way, I always do, just by default. All right. Now, I got a little present for you. I want to take the second half of this session and kind of spin off a little bit and show you uh, kind of a tool that I guess what would you say, I discovered. What I have found is that you can use this Mandelbulb 3D environment with this preview running. All right. So yeah, I could go up here and I could do things up here in the navigator. All right, I can do things. What I can't do is there are certain options that I can't change. Notice this start recording and that sort of thing. And over here, obviously, I can't re-render the preview. Now, I have noticed that throughout the program, I can get to these windows and I can do things, but I have discovered that certain things are disabled. Here's a good example. This Calculate 3D. With this preview running, I can't calculate a 3D, which means that I can't see anything. I can navigate around. Let me just do this. I'm going to look up. Walk forward and walk back again just to kind of reset my position. But I can do that, but I'm limited in what I can actually do. So this for me is unfortunate because I really can't continue to work with the application and refer to this animation. And I do have the keyframes being shown up here. All right. Now, as I had discussed a couple sessions ago, once you exit this, there's no going back. All right. You have to redo the preview. Invariably, you're going to forget where things are, and they're just you're just going to get lost. Now, I came up with I was looking for a solution, and I'm thinking to myself, what would be a good screen capture software? There's scores of them out there, and there's all kinds of open source, and there's all kinds of ways you can do this. But I found that the OBS, Open Broadcast Software, which is open source, will actually make a pretty good, a very good screen capture of this preview that I can refer to as I go back to my Mandelbulb 3D. All right, so now that's, if you're interested, here's the OBS, the Open Broadcast Software. You might want to go download it, install it, and give it a shot. Now, what I've done is I have set up an OBS. Let's see, we'll put that right. We'll put it right there. Matter of fact, let me move that up here so we can get a good view of this. Okay, good. So what I've done is I have set up an OBS profile, they call it. And all I'm doing is I'm just, there's no cameras, there's no audio, there's nothing like that. All I've said is, look, capture a specific window. All right, and this is the window. And now, a little tip now, be careful on changing your resolution. I sort of want to kind of have it approximately what I have up here in my preview. If you go too big, it just kind of tears the pixels apart, and it's not really making much sense. If you go smaller than what you had up here, well, you're just kind of throwing good information away. So just kind of somewhere in there. Okay. All right. Then what I do is I'll wait until it's just about at the end, and then I'll start recording. All right, here we go. I'll start recording right now. All right, so OBS is capturing this one preview window, and I'm going to stop recording right at towards the end right now. Okay, so if I go look for this thing, and I do have it being sent out to our folder. Let's get it over. Come on over. All right. Yeah, let's see. Okay, there it is. Is that it? Where'd it go? Here. I'll tell you what. Let's get details, and let's just sort. Yeah, there it is. Okay, here we go. All right, now this is really cool. I have an OBS screen capture, and now I can do clever things with it. Now I can pause it, and I can scrub it. All right, I can scrub it. All right, and also it's saved as a file, so I can refer to it. I can go back in, and I can set the file name, and I could say preview of keyframes 1 through 4, all right, or whatever I want to call it. Now, the really good thing about this is that there's really no danger of me losing this preview unless, of course, I go in and delete the file. And I can always have it for reference. So what I could do is I could take my animation viewer somehow. Okay, there we go. I can do that, something like this. Okay. I don't need the File Explorer anymore, and I don't need the OBS anymore, so I'll just put that aside. And so here we go. So now I have a preview that I can reference anytime I want. Now, good thing about this is one wrong move and you have lost your Mandelbulb 3D preview. Obviously, if I come up here and I click that X button, I know I'm going to close it. If I click this exit button, it may or may not close. Okay, so but let me make this final point about why I capture with OBS in a critical situation. If I'm just looking at something real quick, see how that 2 keyframes work, fine. I'll just do the Mandelbulb 3D preview and leave it at that. But if I'm in a critical juncture, all right, I will take an OBS screen capture and keep it as reference. Now, there is a key point here why a screen capture with OBS or whatever you decide to do is an important tool, and I'll show you why. Let's say, let's stop this. Now I can scrub around. That's really cool. But let's say that I want to preview right in there. I want to see what's going on right between these frames right here. And there is our frame number up there, which is kind of hard to see. But let's say I want to, what's right in there? That's what I want to see. You see, I'm right about in the middle of this scrub bar. Now let's say I want to start from there. Now watch my scrubbing bar here. And I'm going to say, start from there. It backs up. I'll stop it again. I'll show you. It's right underneath this icon right here. Start. Boom. What it does is it starts the last place it was positioned. The last place that it was positioned. So, okay, it's right under exit. Let's prove it. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say start, and we should see this thing bounce immediately right back to exit. Okay, so the point I'm making here is that this thing is crazy. Now, if I use my OBS screen capture, I don't have any of that problem. I can start it, I can stop it, start it, stop it, and I can even use my space bar. Start it, stop it, start it, stop it. Okay, so we're way over time on this session, but I really wanted to show you this OBS screen capture technique for your preview. Now I'm going to exit. Let's see what happens. I'm stopped. Let's exit. My window goes away. Okay, so OBS screen capture, use it. It's an interesting tool. I think it's going to save you an awful lot of work, and probably more importantly, it's going to help you stay out of trouble when you get like you really get deep in with the keyframes. You get into 30, 50 keyframes. Well, you're going to be happy you have this to be able to refer back. Okay? All right, enough for this session, way over time, but I thought it was important. All right, we'll continue this good work in the next session. I'll see you there.